Good morning, everybody. Just want to make sure you all have your bell workout so that you can add to it. If you look at the question, it does ask you when using a measuring tape to find lengths with 16ths of an inch increments, what must all the numerators have in common? Feel free to pause the video and look it up on your worksheet if you need to. Great. If you found the answer, you should be odd numbers. And again, this is just an example of what we went through on that very last example on the second page. If you're measuring in 16ths of an inch from any whole number to another whole number, it's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 15 over 16. And notice that if it's an even number, it does reduce to an odd numerator, and the denominator will also be reduced along with it. So in this case, 2/16 becomes 1/8, 3/16 stays 3/16, and then if I go to 4/16, it becomes 1/4. So in the previous video that we saw in class, you saw that every other number stays with a denominator of 16, and then you can sort of just add 2 to the numerator. So if you can remember that, that will help you with measuring correctly using 16ths of an inch increments. And then we also talked about some of the other things that we did with half inch, quarter inch, eighth inch. So if you need to review that, please review that. And for those of you that did not finish the worksheet from yesterday, feel free to borrow a tape measure and complete the worksheet and turn those in. Okay. Make sure that the tape measures are returned though, please. Thank you. All right, for today, we're going to jump into 7.1, which is measuring lengths. And I'll just uncover these for your notes. So if you need to copy them down, please copy them down. Main thing is measurements is a number that describes the size of amount of something that you can measure. Like many things have a length, area, capacity, weight, temperature, and time, which we'll get more into later on in this unit. The bulk of what we're doing today is in the second paragraph. It says at times you may need to convert between units of measurements. For example, you might want to express your height using feet and inches, or only in inches. So in that process, you have to convert from one unit to another, or convert them all into the same units. And this is called unit analysis. It's also sometimes called dimensional analysis. And you probably have done this in one of your science classes. Okay, length of a distance from one end to an object to another. We did that yesterday. For example, you have a length of a letter size piece of paper, which is 11 inches. The system for measuring length in the United States is based on a customary units of measurements. We say inches, feet, yards, and miles. So you can use any one of those 4 customary measurements of units to describe lengths of something, but sometimes it makes more sense to convert them into certain units for the purposes of what we're doing. Okay, so here's a little chart. It gives you some conversions that are pretty common. So you should be familiar with 1 foot equals 12 inches, 1 yard equals 3 feet, and 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And depending on which direction you're converting, if you want to convert feet into inches, you use 12 inches to 1 foot, like a fraction in the middle column. Or if you want to convert inches into feet, then you would use the last column. Okay, so going across that road, just keep in mind that depending on which direction you want to change your units to, you would use a different conversion fraction. All right, dimensional analysis, like we said, this is unit analysis. A lot of the times I just make sure that you're looking at the factor label. So whatever units you're measuring in, I want to make sure that those units will cancel one another. Okay, and we'll look at some examples here in just a second, but this is called factor label method, which is what you may have seen in one of your science classes. All right, on the next page, let's go to get into some examples here. You have to determine the number of inches, and it says on your notes in 13 feet. I think it probably should say determine the number of inches given that you have 13 feet. So if I do this, you can kind of see the conversions over here that are on the other page. I wrote them down over here for you. The one that was previously in there said miles was 5,280 feet. You probably will want to have this one also, which says 1 mile is equal to 1,760 feet. And again, that's sort of using the conversion that's above, using 1 yard equals 3 feet. So these are related to one another. And so we're looking at different conversions. So back to the example. If you see it, you can say I have a 13 feet that was given to me. And over on the side, we want to convert that into inches. So if you notice, it says 1 foot equals 12 inches. And what I do is I take a look at which one of these do I want to get rid of and which ones do I want to keep. So if I want to get rid of feet and end up with inches, then I want to make sure that those are diagonal from each other so that one says feet on top and the other unit that says feet is on the bottom. That way they'll cancel each other. And in this example, you can see that's exactly what happens, 13 feet and 1 foot. The units for feet will cancel out, and all you're left with is inches. And then the idea is that you multiply going straight across. So if I do 13 times 12, then I'll get my answer here in inches, which is 156 inches. Okay, so it's pretty easy to convert if you just kind of pay attention to the units and just know that which ones you want to cancel have to be one on top and one on the bottom. Okay. All right, example 2, same idea. This one's asking you to determine the number of feet, and it says in 287 feet on your notes. Again, I think that probably should say given that you have 287 feet or inches, and when I will convert those into feet. So this is going the other direction now. So if I have inches and I want to convert them into feet, I'm still using the same unit conversion that's on top here, except you'll notice that when I do that conversion, the fraction that I have next to the inches is flipped. So instead of saying inches on top and feet on the bottom, I went ahead and flipped that upside down because now we're starting with inches and I want those to go away so that we end up with the number of feet. So feet should be on top and inches should be on the bottom in order for those to do what I want them to do, which is to cancel out the inches. Okay, so this 287 inches right here, the units in inches will cancel out. Notice I'm not canceling the numbers, I'm just canceling out the label for that factor label. And then that way I'm going to have 287 times 1 on top, which is still 287. And then I'm going to divide out the bottom number here, which is 12. So basically, I'm just saying take 287 and divide by 12. And if you do that, you should get the decimal 23.92 feet. So make sure if you're rounding, rounded 2 decimal places. And the reason I know it's feet is because the inches all canceled out. So then the last label that's left is the feet that was on top. Okay, so by now this should be kind of making a little bit more sense. Okay. Here's one that's a little bit more challenging. If you look at example 3, you have to arrange your bedroom so that the length of your bookshelf and the length of your desk are next to each other along the wall. So your bookshelf has a measurement that's 60 inches long, and your desk says that it's 4 feet and 8 inches long. So we want to find the total length of the bookshelf and the desk, but I want to measure them in feet. Okay, so this is sort of a contrived one, and most likely if you were to do this, I probably would have done these in inches, but they said we want them in feet. So I want to go ahead and do that. So start with the bookshelf, which is the 60 inches. So we're going to do the conversion again. The 12 inches equals 1 foot. And since I have 60 inches to start with, we want to cancel out inches and end up with feet. So it's similar to the one you just saw. Inches and inches will cancel. So I can get rid of those two labels. And notice again, this is 60 times 1 on top and 12 is left on the bottom. So I'm just basically dividing 60 by the 12. So you should be getting the same result. This is 5 feet. Okay, so the bookshelf, changing it from inches to feet, we just did that part. The other part said the desk was 4 feet 8 inches. So the 4 feet I can leave alone. We're going to keep that. It's the 8 inches we're going to convert into feet. So this is obviously not even 1 whole foot. So this is going to be a decimal. So that's why I want to take that number. Again, inches. It's going to cancel out with this inches on the bottom because I had 12 inches on the denominator. And again, 1 foot on top, just like on the previous one. So we're going to convert this one over, and now I'm going to have 8 divided by 12. And that gives me 0.67 feet. So like I said, it's less than a foot. And because that's just the 8 inches, now we're going to add that to the 4 feet to get the whole distance for the desk. So that gives us 4.67 feet for the desk. And then remember the final product here, the final answer is so that we can find the total length. So I want to add both the bookshelf distance and the desk distance. And then that should give us our final answer, which is 9.67 feet when I add the 4.67 and the 5 feet. Okay, so again, all you're really doing is just making sure that they're all in the same units and then converting them by canceling out the units we want to get rid of. All right, so if you want to pause real quick, try letter A, try letter B on your own, see if you can go ahead and come up with some answers for both of these. And we're back, so now you can see that on letter A, and compare them with yours, I did the conversion with 233 inches, because we want to convert these to yards. So inches to yards is not something that we can do directly, but you can do inches to feet. So here I have 19.42 feet. And then we also had another conversion, which was up here at the top where it says 1 yard equals 3 feet. So we're using the top two conversions here to do this example. And since I have 19.42 feet, now we can go ahead and convert feet into yards. So notice feet cancels, one's on top, one's on the bottom. And so I'm going to have 1 yard equals 3 feet. And then 19.42 gets divided by 3, which means now you have a total of 6.47 yards. And we started with the 233 inches and converted it into feet and then to yards to get our final answer. Okay, so you might have to do more than one conversion to get to your destination here. And then letter B, hopefully this one was a little easier because all you had to do was take the inches, convert it to feet. And again, the inches on the bottom, inches on top cancel out. I probably should be filling these as well. And then as long as you have your units left over on top, that's how we're getting the feet for one of these desks. So it's 3.333 repeating for one desk. And since I have 5 to line up, you can just multiply that times 5, or you can add 3.33 5 times. And I just left the number in my calculator and let it show the decimal instead of rounding it off. Let the calculator keep that long number in.